sled push for Hyrox. This is the first station where the stronger guys start to shine and you really see who's done the work when it comes to their Hyrox training. If you haven't already, hit subscribe down below for more Hyrox and fitness content, but let's get stuck straight in. So the sled push, this is the heaviest movement of the day, and this is one where I'll talk through training and also your technique. It can ruin your race. So even if you've done the work, you can still execute it poorly on the day, and coming out of the station, you're gonna have heavy legs. It's the first time you probably feel heaviness because up to this point, you've done a run, a ski and a run, probably feeling pretty good. This is where you come out of it. You'll know if you've done the work, you know if you've executed it properly. So let's talk through what to expect, the techniques, training, and how to get through this station as efficiently as possible. Okay, let's start with the form of this one and your options too. There are probably two options I see majority of people do on this station. Now, the first one is probably the one that most people do and the one I'd probably recommend. It is where you get your arms to the bars of the sled and your elbow pit is basically against that, and you're leaning forward and you're pushing against the sled with your basically elbow pit on the actual poles itself. Now, I like this movement because it's less pressure on the shoulders. It's almost like a scrum type of movement with your upper body. And you're also in a fairly hinged position. So what it's gonna do, it's gonna push more weight forward, which is gonna be particularly good, especially for the people in the pro division. It's quite a heavy weight. So trying to get your body in the strongest position possible, even if it's not as quick, is probably gonna be the best thing because you want to do this one as efficiently as you can. So a couple of tips with this one. First one is when you do that starting position, try to have both feet together when you start. A lot of people start with a staggered stance. If you have them together, you can get that push off started and then you can start to step it out. It's a minor detail, but it may make a small impact to the race itself. Try it in training and see how you go, but I would suggest a 2-foot stand to start. The next one for this is the hand position, and I'm gonna call myself out here. I made this mistake too. So even though your elbow pits are against the poles, have your hands behind as well so you can kind of almost push as you go, as opposed to having your hands wrapped around. And I made this mistake. So again, most of the stuff I talk about are things I've done in races, and I found when my hands were wrapped around, I just wasn't as strong versus behind where I can kind of almost, like, you actually see my arms there. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but it just also means I can push as much force behind as possible. So have your hands behind, you can have them like clinched or flat, but just have them going in the direction that you're moving there to. Head positioning as well. Now, I would recommend trying to put your head down as much as you can, so your head's almost directly over where the plates are, because again, you're trying to get that forward momentum. I'm gonna put a caveat here too, and this is, if you're finding your foot is starting to slide a bit in that position, come up a little bit higher, because what happens is instead of being in a nice horizontal position and your feet sliding, you come up a little bit higher and your feet can dig in just that little bit more as well. So if you are finding you're slipping slightly on this one because of the track, like whatever it might be, just come a tad higher and then keep moving. If you're not slipping and your shoes are going well, the track's moving quite nicely, try to go that little bit lower there as well. And the other thing with this too is try to use momentum as much as you can. The other technique that I've seen a lot of people do is they'll have their hands up on the poles and they'll push it in that position. Generally speaking, you're a little more upright on this one. Your legs can extend a little bit further. Knees are normally the same distance from the ground as well, but again, it's probably a slightly faster movement. It's a bit easier to get into position as well. So versus trying to line yourself up, it doesn't take that long, but we're talking minor details. I have known competitors to swap. So they might use that one to start with. You can actually breathe a bit better with your arms up as opposed to coming forward where you're quite closed through your diaphragm. So the benefit with doing this one is you're in a more upright position, you can breathe that a little bit better, and again, you've got a bit more movement and a bit more space with your feet. So there are a few benefits with it. The shoulders obviously fatigue. I think it's a little bit less efficient because when you're in that position there, everything's tucked in. When you have your hands up too, I would recommend, as opposed to arms coming out, tuck your elbows in. You wanna have your upper body as still as possible, so it's all gonna be a leg drive. And you also don't wanna be pushing it with your shoulders too. Your legs are far stronger than your shoulders. You wanna be using them and utilizing them as much as you can. Feel free to change it up. I have used both in races. The other way you can do is you can extend your arms out, but it's just less efficient. I mean, you can do it if you want, but it's a trickier movement. It works, but I wouldn't recommend it. Now, in terms of strategies on this station, it's still pretty early in the race. So my best advice, which has worked for me, is break it up a little more than you're comfortable with at this exercise. Now, you probably could do all the laps unbroken, for example, but your legs are gonna blow up. And if you're thinking about trying to move efficiently, if you think about overloading your muscles and you're going slow through a bicep curl, what are you trying to do? You're trying to slow it down and have time on tension. We wanna do the complete opposite when it comes to events. We want to have the least time on tension. So what I do is I break up every half through this exercise, but I'll try to push pretty hard when I'm doing it. So I'll push pretty hard, and I'll stop. And I'll have my 5 to 10 second break. I'm trying to get that down a little bit. That's probably my little tip for myself, is trying to like reduce my breaks. I probably had 10 seconds when I started, and now I'm probably getting down to 5 to 7. That's how I'm gonna get faster at the station, as opposed to trying to push through for me. Trying to move pretty fast through the station. Have your break, rest, even on the first one, even though I know I could do the first one, but you try not to build up too much lactic. People are going fast, that's fine. Catch back up to them, get to the end, and then just walk to the end to start your next lap. I would break it up every half. You can break it up in thirds if you want to as well. Try not to go too slow in this one, because again, if you think about overloading your muscle and you're doing slow reps, again, going back to my bicep example, you're trying to put less time on tension because it's easier. It's more efficient. So quick push, break, quick push. The more frequently you break it, the easier it's gonna be as well. So if you're breaking up every, say, thirds in a lap, it's gonna be slightly easier. Half is gonna be easier than a full lap, and a full lap is obviously gonna gas you out. You can't win it at this point. You don't wanna go slow, but at the same time, you can sure as hell really ruin yourself. The thing is, if you're going hard on the station, doing full laps, and you're getting out there and you've got heavy legs, really heavy legs in that next run, it's gonna be a long race, and you still got the sled pull coming up there too. So you wanna try to still move fairly quick, but try to take the least amount of pressure on your legs as possible, because you want to get a good run in between these sleds. It's probably when your legs are the heaviest as well. So break it up quite frequently. Feel free to mix up your techniques. Push fast with frequent breaks, and just keep breathing as well. People will kind of hold their breath as they're doing a heavy sled push. Don't forget, when you're in that position there, still breathe, It's high adrenaline, I get it, but people literally will forget to do it. And there's nothing that raises your heart rate faster than holding your breath through an exercise. So just remember to do that one too. Now, in terms of training, this is a movement where you're stepping it forward, right? So trying to do heavy unilateral work is what's gonna get you stronger in the station. Plus, obviously, doing your heavy squats, heavy front squats. So doing a split stance on this one is gonna replicate it a little bit better, and it's something that a lot of people don't do enough of. So in short, yes, more muscle is gonna help you here for sure. Like, do your heavy squats, do your heavy front squats, you need to be doing that. And when you're coming down, it's power from the bottom. This is a power move. It is strength, but think about tempo coming down and power from the bottom, because that's what's gonna help you through this exercise. Split stance exercises and going for volume. So training, this one's still heavy, but like going to fatigue. So I would recommend, 3-4 weeks plus out, not the weeks leading into it, but like a good month beforehand. In your training program, do heavier volume and really focus on that split stance and loading the legs up. You don't want to be doing this 2 weeks out, because you're going to get heavy legs when you come into race day. But having a program where you're doing a lot of walking lunges, split stance squats, Bulgarians, plus your heavy front squats, and of course things like glute bridges and barbell hip thrusts are going to help build up that glute strength, which is important too. Like heaviness in the legs is going to be really important here. This is where it gets a little tricky with your training, because Hyrox, yes, is primarily a running event, but you can't get too light that you can't do this one efficiently. And I think that there's this balance between being strong and fit, and that's the whole point of Hyrox. It's a hybrid event. But if you are a little bit heavier and you can hold your same race paces, it's gonna actually help you here as well. I know this video is not about nutrition, but keeping your proteins high when you're in that high volume to try to keep your weight on is actually gonna help you here, because you don't wanna come into a Hyrox too light, because even a couple of kilos difference in your weight is going to really impact how you move these sleds. And if you can come out of this with a fair amount of energy into the runs, it's going to be very beneficial for the rest of the race. Hope you enjoy, you guys. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel down below, and good luck in your race and get training.